What's up, Lego builders? Welcome back to Coconut Brick Studios. You guys seem to enjoy a good clone base video, and I must admit, I do as well. And while the clone base is pretty simple in theory, a building or structure for clones to perform various duties in, there's so much to explore in regards to what they can look like and do. You have your underwater bases, your clifftop bases, and of course the classic clone dance club base. Gotta keep the morale up somehow. In today's challenge, I'm gonna be taking 3 rare unknown types of clones and building a base that fits their specific roles and capabilities. Some are gonna be under attack, rumbling through a jungle, or kinda lame. So grab yourself a politically correct snack. Don't forget to execute Order 66 on that like button, and let's get building. The first base is located on Mustafar, a place I've only built twice and home of the infamous high ground incident of 19 BBY. A fiery planet full of lava and black rock. It's basically the Hoth of hot places. I want to include a lava river running down in front of the base, and since I don't have much in the way of red plate or tile, which is what most people use, I'm going to place down 1 by brick on their sides and make a snot river. I was going to use yellow and orange plate to create little hot spots in the lava since it tends to change color based on its temperature, but after I finished the first hot spot I realized this won't work because when I connected the hot spot to the river, it's not flowing in the same direction. I was trying to build the river separate from the shape I created on the base plate when I realized why not just place it in the riverbed and build it from there. Sometimes you would think I'd never built a mock before. I caught a cursed Lego brick trying to sneak its way into the mock, which was quickly yeeted into the trash. I squeezed every last brick I could out of my red collection and still didn't have enough to finish the river. So I had the idea to create a tunnel at the end of the river, making it look like the lava flowed down underground, thus saving me the shame of an unfinished lava river in my mock. Now that the river is in, I need to cover the edge where it meets up with the rock and create a smooth, finished look. I'm using a combination of regular and wedge plates to cover the gap, and so far things are coming together pretty nicely. The last thing I want to do with the terrain is add a small lava fall. I feel like part of what makes Obi-Wan and Anakin's duel on Mustafar so epic were the massive lava falls in the background, so I wanted to pay homage with a little one of my own that will flow down a hill into the river. But this is a clone base video, not a terrain challenge, so let's start the clone base. This one is going to have a landing pad on the right with some pillar looking things. I got the idea for those from these panels you see on a lot of the bases on Mustafar. I'm not sure what they are, but they look kind of cool. And I'll be adding some panels with vents in between each of them. I've learned when it comes to clone bases, don't go too fancy with the foundation. Simple rectangles, triangles, and other basic shapes will do. Then once all those are in, you can go back through and add in panels, vents, pipes, and other greebling. On the front, I'm just going to build some angled walls connected to a flat one and copy that on the other side for a nice symmetrical pop out. On the landing pad, I wanted to add some designation numbers, and it was surprisingly easy. I just had to put in a 1 and a 0 and then find the matching angled tile and light bluish gray to cover the edges and then tile everything else off. This is a great way to add quick and easy details to your walls and floors. To be honest, this whole base idea came about because of the Galactic Marines. I've been studying up on them, and I think they might be my new favorite clone. I read that their suits and backpacks allowed them to survive in harsh climates like Hoth, Tatooine, and Mustafar, and I immediately knew a Galactic Marine Mustafar mock had to happen. The pad will have a door leading into the base, and then to the left will be a control room full of, you guessed it, a dance pad and stereo system. Not really, but I'm sure your second guess was random computers for computing. Any good clone base has to have them. Let me know in the comments what you think of my computer designs. I also included an arcade game in case the clones got bored. The base is done, and now all I need is the roof and those spicy greebling panels I was talking about earlier. I made mostly vents since a base in a place like this has got to have some serious air filtration capabilities. On the dark planet of Mustafar, commando droids have infiltrated and captured a Republic base. Republic forces received the SOS and dispatched a squad of Galactic Marines capable of surviving the harsh climate via gunship to retake the base and free the surviving hostages. I love this mock. Everything turned out great, from the lava flows and terrain to the actual structure. It's not often I'm this happy with a finished build. I think my favorite part is the landing pad. No surprise there. The slopes and vents on the front look so good, and the numbers on the pad are just the cherry on top. Inside, I have the clones being held hostage, except for one who's about to beat the current high score, so obviously the droids understood what was at stake and left him alone. You can see how simply adding detail pieces to the exterior of your builds makes such a big difference. Because you guys liked the underwater base in the last video so much, I decided to do something similar for this next one. I'm making a weapons testing base built into a cliff. There will be a small viewing port at the bottom. The viewing port will be so the clones can get up close and personal with the destruction. I figured not every base has to be in the middle of fending off droid attacks or typing away on computers, so I'm going to explore more R&D focused compound. Plus, I mean, any chance to build more rock work, am I right? Since the ground in front of the base probably takes quite a pounding every day, I'm going to keep it super flat. I was so focused on the viewing port and cliff aspect of the build that when it came time to build the rest of the base, I really had no idea what I wanted it to look like, and then I had an idea. This was the mobile command base in my last video. I saw it from across the room and knew I had found a new life. And boy, does this need some adaptation. The door literally leads straight off a cliff. So I'm gonna put in a balcony for high up Republic peeps to watch stuff get blown up. Do it. Because the surrounding area is probably getting torched daily, I'm not adding any vegetation, just some piles of good old-fashioned dirt. If you guys have any idea for future clone bases you want to see me do, make sure to leave your suggestions down below in the comments. Now for the fun stuff. The clones are currently testing some new bombs on some deactivated droids, which, now that I think about it, somehow seems unethical, but I mean, it couldn't be. When has the Republic ever done anything like that? The rare unknown clones used in this mock will be the 442nd Siege Battalion. I figured heavy weapons, destroying battlements, and strongholds, that's kind of their jam, right? Although I guess Bomb Squad would have worked as well, except I don't have any because they're hideous. ARC Trooper Halo inspects the latest round of testing for the Republic's new arsenal of bombs, capable of punching through the latest in MTT armor, AATs, and frying droid circuitry and bodies with good old-fashioned napalm. I feel like all the computers make sense in this base because you want to track the explosions and how they infect the environment, since the last thing you want is an untested bomb going off, opening up a sinkhole, and waking up a sleeping monster.
I'm in danger!
Last, we're going to a land forgotten by time, a place I rarely build, the jungles of Naboo.
Oh, it's beautiful.
I want to introduce the clones I'll be using first, as it will help explain why this next base is what it is. The 91st Recon are, well, recon troopers, going out on scouting missions, establishing a foothold in new worlds and territories. So today I'm going to build them a mobile recon base that can take them to the furthest reaches of the galaxy because it's half base and half truck. Think Clone Turbo Tank meets Mars Rover. Now, I'm not much of a vehicle builder, so this isn't going to be pretty, but I'm going to make up for that by giving this bad boy all kinds of functions, treads, loading ramps, and giant blades for cutting through foliage. Because it's also a vehicle, I need it to be somewhat aerodynamic. I don't want the clones driving around in a brick. So I'm going to make the front as rounded as I can with wedge plates, and then build a snot frame out of slopes as the cockpit. And since the slopes won't be connected to the studs on the front, I need to place down some tiles. That way I can slide the snot frame into place and there won't be a gap at the bottom. The glass canopies I used in my Coruscant mock will make for some great windshields as well. Now the rest of the body is going to be real simple. I just need some walls, and there's going to be no roof, and I want it to be open top like the AT-OT. And if the clones need to, they can make a roof for it since, you know, they're smart guys. Well, for the most part. The sides are going to have large doors that open that allow for easy boarding or exiting access. It's pretty refreshing being able to do a vehicle after so many bases. Even if this is still technically a base, the build process has not been the same at all. I also decided to modify the rear door so that when it folds down, it creates a loading platform on the ground. Once the doors were in, we're ready for the interior. Just your normal assortment of computers, some seats, and a weapons rack that includes a rocket launcher just in case those clones need some extra democracy. This mobile base is all ready to go except for one key component, the mobile one. I had no idea how I was going to make this thing move. Then I remembered I had a sandcrawler gathering dust somewhere, which has some treads on it. I pulled it out and stole the treads and built some simple platforms for them. I've always been a fan of the triangle-shaped tread bases, kind of like what you see on snow vehicles like this. This base is ready to go and just needs one more thing, some giant saws on the front. And the more I think about it, the more I realize I just built the jungle cutter from Indiana Jones, but it's Star Wars. Deep in the forgotten jungles of Naboo, a massive 91st Recon mobile base plows through the grass, cutting a path for the clones to scout out the area and find a good spot to call in a Republic attack shuttle to drop off a command base to establish a foothold in the area before the Separatists do. Okay, this build is actually pretty cool. Not because of any details or fancy builds, it honestly looks like something 10-year-old Ethan would have built, but just the idea of a massive tracked base plowing down grass and plants as it rumbles through the terrain is awesome. I enjoyed being able to build with these 91st Recon clones as well, so they're some of my favorite in my collection, and the battle damage on them makes them look like hardened veterans of many missions. In the back, I have a loading ramp for ATRTs to hop out and scout the terrain. The front cockpit has room for 3 clones, but the next model will definitely need to have some windshield wipers. Bruh. I must say, these bases turned out pretty good, and building them based off of clones instead of terrain was a lot of fun. I think the first one was my favorite as far as like how it looks, but the last one was definitely the most fun to build, since how often you get to build a vehicle in a base challenge. Plus those play features got me feeling like a kid again. But don't tell Anakin. And we can just pretend the second base never even happened. I'm gonna take a break from clone bases, and in the next challenge, I'm gonna show you the big problem with droid bases, why no one ever builds them, and how I'm gonna make them great again. Well, they were never actually great to begin with, so we'll see what happens. Could be a bust, but either way, you won't want to miss it. Don't forget to let me know in the comments what base was your favorite, and until next time, happy building.